There is nothing in the world more helpless and irresponsible and depraved than a man in the depths of an ether binge. Fear, I know not fear. There are only moments of confusion. A man has to be something, he has to matter. The trade is meaningless. It is like trading a used mattress for a $300 bill. Real happiness in politics is a wide open hammer shot on some poor bastard who knows he has been trapped but cannot flee. A drug person can learn to cope with things like seeing their dead grandmother crawling up their leg with a knife in her teeth, but no one should be asked to handle this trip. Don't take any gift from these swine. There is no such thing as paranoia. Your worst fear can come true at any moment. Every now and then you have to get away from that ugly old politics trip, or it will drive you to kicking the walls and hurling AR-3s into the fireplace. It was dangerous, Leonacy, but it was also the kind of thing a real connoisseur of edge work could make an argument for. Hungry people have the cunning of wild beasts. Yesterday's weirdness is tomorrow's reason why. It was the tension between these two poles, a restless idealism on one hand and a sense of impending doom on the other, that kept me going. Assassins, like politicians and journalists, are not attracted to losers. Even a blind pig finds an acorn now and then. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. I have not found a drug yet that can get you anywhere near as high as sitting at a desk writing. I was thinking my mind was running at top speed, scanning and sorting my options. They ranged all the way from dumb and dangerous to crazy, evil and utterly wrong from the start.
Subscribe now.
Arriving half drunk in a foreign place is hard on the nerves. You have a feeling that something is wrong, that you cannot get a grip. I hate pain despite my ability to tolerate it beyond all known parameters, which is not necessarily a good thing. Love plans for tomorrow and loneliness thinks of yesterday. You have to be very mean to get a laugh on the campaign trail. There is no such thing as paranoia. Art is long and life is short, and success is very far off. It was like a scene from the final hours of the Roman Empire. Everywhere you looked, some prominent politician was degrading himself in public. With the possible exception of things like box scores, race results, and stock market tabulations, there is no such thing as objective journalism. The phrase itself is a pompous contradiction in terms. It was an educated fear for the coming shit rain. The angels are not articulate about many things, but they bring a lover's inspiration to the subject of bikes. Some asshole wrote a poem about that once. It is probably good advice if you have shit for brains. The difference between survival and wipeout in a physical crisis is nearly always a matter of conditioned reflexes. No, we are getting ahead of our story and only a jackass would do that. I don't really care if people think we are bad, said another. I think this is what really keeps us going. We fight society and society fights us. It doesn't bother me. There is no such thing as paranoia. Your worst fears can come true at any moment. Every now and then when your life gets complicated and the weasels start closing in, the only real cure is to load up on heinous chemicals and then drive like a bastard. It is a very elegant feeling to wake up in the morning and go down to your neighborhood polling place and come away feeling proud of the way you voted. Justice is not cheap in this country, and people who insist on it are usually either desperate or possessed by some private determination bordering on monomania.
Subscribe now.
A nervous society where a man's image is frequently more important than his reality. I walked over to the TV set and turned it on to a dead channel. White noise at maximum decibels, a fine sound for sleeping, a powerful continuous hiss to drown out everything strange. If the thing bites down much harder, I might wig out and demand beer. Stay away from the phone. Watch the red arrow. This typewriter is keeping me on my rails. Without it, I'd be completely adrift and weird. But from now on, let's try to be careful when we are around people I know. You won't sketch them and I won't mace them. We will just try to relax and get drunk. In a nervous society where a man's image is frequently more important than his reality, the only people who can afford to advertise their drug menus are those who nothing to lose. When you bring an act into this town, you want to bring it in heavy. Don't waste any time with cheap shucks and misdemeanors. Go straight for the jugular. Get right into felonies. Balls, I said, never mind the track. The track is for punk. We are road people. We are cafe racers. Being shot out of a cannon will always be better than being squeezed out of a tube. On my tombstone, they will carve, "It never got fast enough for me." Maybe it meant something, maybe not, in the long run, but no explanation, no mix of words or music or memories can touch that sense of knowing that you were there and alive in that corner of time and the world, whatever it meant, history. But instead of losing quietly one by one, they have banded together with a meanness kind of loyalty and moved outside the framework, for good or evil. They may not have an answer, but at least they are still on their feet. Superstar politicians and superstar quarterbacks have the same kind of delicate egos, and people who live on that level grow very accustomed to very thin, rarefied air. They have trouble breathing in the lower altitudes, and if they cannot breathe right, they cannot function. Successful con men are treated with considerable respect in the South. A good slice of the settler population of that region were men who had been given a choice between shipped off to the New World in leg irons and spending the rest of their lives in English prisons. The only way to write honestly about the scene is to be part of it. If there is one quick truism about psychedelic drugs, it is that anyone who tries to write about them without first experience is a fool and a fraud. One of the things you learn after years of dealing with drug people is that everything is serious. You can turn your back on a person, but never turn your back on a drug, especially when it is waving a razor sharp hunting knife in your eyes. To give advice to a man who asks what to do with his life implies something very close to egomania. To presume to point a man to the right and ultimate goal, to point with a trembling figure in the right direction, is something only a fool would take upon himself. No, it was too much. The line between madness and masochism was already hazy. The time had come to pull back, to retire, hunker down, back off and cop out, as it were. Why not, in every gig like this, there comes a time to either cut your losses or consolidate your winning, whichever fits. Those who were the good mornings when the sun was hot and the air was quick and promising, when the real business seemed right on the verge of happening, and I felt that if I went just a little faster, I might overtake that bright and fleeting thing that was always just ahead. Watching TV becomes a full-time job when you can scan 200 channels all day and all night and still have the option of punching night dreams into the video machine if the rest of the world seems dull.
Subscribe now.